What is up, guys? Wraec here with a new video, and today with a guide for Desolate Grounds for the giant golem boss to give you the optimal damage strats that you can use to really amplify your damage through the roof. We're looking currently at a fight from Shrimp from my guild, who dealt a very impressive amount of damage against the giant golem boss, and I will show you this team that he's using and some other versions of the team that actually were able to deal some even higher numbers in a second. And also we're going to look over some secondary teams, and I want to tell you a little bit about the abilities of this boss, because if you use the wrong team at the wrong time, this can actually really hurt your damage. So knowing the abilities of this giant golem boss who we fight on the Desolate grounds maps, and by the way, the maps do switch every season, so we are fighting different bosses. They are 231 billion. 231 billion. Absolutely massive. With Corin, of course, being at P2. Massive massive hero actually right there, pretty highly upgraded, but yeah, 231 billion. Massive, insane. So, starting off, I want to talk a little bit about the abilities of this boss. As you can see right now, it's right now called Crumble Giant Golem. And the reason for that is that once this hero hits 50% of HP, it switches to his second phase. And this second phase is called the Crumble Giant Golem. This is not only a visual change, but it will also switch all of his abilities. So, the boss at 50% or above HP is called Giant Golem and has an entirely different set to this Crumble Giant Golem, which it is at low HP. So let's first talk about the Crumble Giant Golem, because that is what we see right now. This boss features a unique ability called Radiant Surge, which is a powerful beam. It shoots over the entire team, and this is actually a very devastating ability, dealing a ton of damage. And you can already see this can be countered. The beam will be reflected if the target is shielded. So by having heroes with shields, well, or having heroes with shield buffs on them, you will effectively be immune to this very powerful ability of the boss. So having a hero on your team that can shield it, or using mechanics that can shield your heroes, is really key to not having your heroes die in this battle. You can very easily achieve that by using different heroes, like for example Lucius. Lucius can very easily provide shields to your entire team, or Coco, or Corin, or some of the artifacts can do so as well. Even the upcoming hero Hugin will apparently provide your team with shields. And so having an eye on this mechanic and having an eye on heroes that can provide shields to your team and using them here can really be the key to surviving. If we take a look at the other abilities, they are fairly basic. They are not really noteworthy, just basic damage dealing abilities. Let's once again take a look at Shrimp's score, because there we can see the Giant Golem. This is actually always going to display as Giant Golem. For whatever reason, it will always show the abilities of the top half, not the second half, no matter which version you actually fought. It's a bit weird. The ult here is called Shattered Comet, and it's dealing a bit of damage. I don't think it's really that insane, but once the boss does that, he enters a state of paralysis and can't attack for a while, giving you a lot of room to actually attack him. Then we have Astro Strike, and this is the main key point that you want to counter on the upper half of this boss. It is a giant hammer smash where he hits the ground, deals 350% of damage. The targets will be knocked down and have the haste reduced by a massive 50. So if your haste is reduced by a massive 50, well, your damage is basically gone. But again, if our targets, our heroes are shielded, this effect can be blocked by shields. So you want to have a shield on your heroes, because otherwise they will be knocked down to 6 seconds and have their haste reduced by 50, which is enormous. But as you saw during the fight of Shrimp, and we can watch it again during that time because the last ability doesn't really matter, you never see his smoky go down. So we can really avoid having our heroes get knocked down and their haste reduced by just providing them with shields. He does so by using Lucius and Corin, both of which can provide shields to their team. Lucius being actually the main shield giver here. He is basically providing the entire team with shields, which he's enormously good at. It's sometimes overlooked a little bit, because he's not a very common hero. But here he's actually great, because we're using the Light Bearer faction skill for this Corin team. And I want to look at a few different versions of this, because this is the first one where we see Smokey in there. Smokey is actually a little bit of a new meta. The start of this season we use Sonya and the Sonya team is actually still fairly good, but a lot of people had success with the smoky version as well. So let me show you both versions right now. So first I want to show you guys this picture, which was made by In-Season from the Analytica Discord. It basically shows the team we just also saw on Shrimp's account, just a little bit more of a high-end version. And you can see In-Season was actually able to get 248 billion with the same team. And later on, I think I have the screenshot of that as well, yeah, even a 269 billion hit. There is a bit of RNG to that. Let's get back to this picture though. You can see this is the setup for it. I also went ahead and if you want to get yourself a little screenshot of that, I remodeled the same thing with attack. Let me quickly make that a little bit larger for you guys. So this is basically the team. The interesting part of this, we were using Resonating Spell before to buff the Corrin. Now Tight Call is the matter, and it seems to be a little bit better than the version that was used before. Also, of course, we have some Magic Charm recommendations for this. In-Season is actually using the Bloodlust set, providing attack and life drain here, so let's socket that. On Alsa, also quite an interesting choice over there. I was using the Mystic set, while In-Season is actually using, not Bloodlust, wait, it's actually the Overloaded set here. Both provide 24 haste. Here we have a crit damage boost of 50. I reckon both will work fairly well. Just keep in mind that the Overload set is the one that In-Season actually recommended. For Lucius, I have to say I'm poor. I don't even have his Mythic Charms. It's the Mystic set that is recommended here. Though I have to say you can probably live without it. It ends up working either way. He's pretty good at providing shields. And last but not least, we have Smokey. And here we just use the standard recovering set. The game will actually recommend that to you as well. Healing, skill power in there. Quite a nice set. And the one that will give the game will be given to you by the game anyway. When you try to decide, it's actually the recommended one. That being said, I told you that this is not the only version of this team that exists. This, for example, is a version by Kaskan Sarayova. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Or Koni in-game, which is a lot more easier for me to pronounce. And he used Sonya in the team, which is a version I actually used before as well. And he got a 237 billion with this team as well. And also provided his attack to the Analytica Discord. And this is how his team was set up, and I actually used the same, but I at the beginning used the Resonating Spell for this one as well. Now Tight Call having a huge comeback this season, and I guess you don't want to miss it. He's making sure that the Alsa and Corrin is actually buffed by Sonya. As you know, Sonya will buff the frontmost hero on the left side and on the right side of her. So by positioning Alsa in front of Roan, Roan doesn't actually get the Alsa buff, the Sonya buff, but Alsa gets it, which is a minor damage boost, but one we still definitely want to use. Now let's talk a little bit about secondary teams. Secondary teams are of course still important. On this boss, granted, they deal a whole lot less damage than the Corrin team. The Corrin team is really your main team for this. If you can't build a Corrin team like this, you will lose out on a lot of damage. That being said, Corrin is one of the heroes that is pretty easy to get in this season and also within this game as well. And at this point, a little reminder that Corrin is available in the Dream Store, so you can buy yourself more copies of him. And if you have sufficient Dream Store, what's it even called? I forgot how the currency is called, doesn't matter. If you have sufficient of it, you can buy yourself a ton of soul sigils for Corrin. Keep in mind there's always or often a little bit of a quest here for the noble path that requires you to buy multiple things in the Dream Store. I don't know if it's actually here, purchase from Emporium. And if you buy 10 of those at the time, it usually doesn't count as 10, so buy them one by one, or at least check for that. And make sure you don't buy them, make sure you don't make it count as just one single purchase. That would be really bad. So going back now to the secondary teams, we can't quite expect the same numbers here. This team was actually first posted by Star-Lord, and it featured an impressive 46 billion damage, which is really nice for a secondary team here. We will get to one that reached 50 billion as well, but this one is quite interesting. The only thing to note here, we have Sonya in this team, so you can't really use her on your current team if you do that, but if you did the smoky strategy we showed before, that is actually not a huge problem. So if you used this team we showed before, right here, that is actually not a huge problem at all. And keep in mind here that this team uses Frontline spell. And now to a fairly similar team that was posted by Wraec. He made this nice little graphic also showing you all the mythic charms that he used in there. Really great. It's also in the Analytica Discord. BD Desolate Ground channel in the Seasonal Hub if you search for it. Fairly similar in terms of the damage dealer composition. We have a Vala in there. So probably mostly suited for below 50% HP. It didn't really show that here. But usually when you use Vala, that is the case. For Vala, the thing is that once an enemy is below 50% HP, she switches to a sword mode, deals 2 damage and gets way higher damage multipliers on her ult, which usually lets her deal a ton more damage. So that's a thing to note here. If you use her at above 50% HP on a boss, she will automatically use her ranged mode, which deals less damage but stuns the enemy, which is not very useful for us right here. This team is pretty similar to the one we saw before. We have Sinbad featured in here again, which I think is very cool. It's a little bit Lightbearer focused, which is nice to see again. Lightbearer with Sonya there, 3 Lightbearer heroes actually activating the Lightbearer tile, and we see the damage is not fully centered on one hero like we saw with Corrin, but in fact split up between Sinbad and Vala, and even quite massively on Sonya, considering she wasn't even on the tile, which is quite insane as well. Level 39 Lightbearer tile, so pretty heavily leveled right there as well. And one thing to note, he used Shark here. Plus 10, usually what you want, because that will give him the attack, will give your heroes the attack buff through Lupine Aura. So if you want to use Sharky as a support character, such as it was used in this case, you want to have him at least plus 10. Then for the last team, also a team by Wraec, which I like pretty well. It's a Wildest team, pretty cool. With Odie in there as well. We had some multiple versions of the Wilder team. This one featuring Parisa. I like Parisa. We're still going to do a video on her because she's one of the most underestimated heroes in this game by the choice of the people commenting under my videos, and I think that is quite the right one as well. Looking at this team, again with the Tidecall spell, and we find ourselves with Lily May and Odie there, and pretty much most damage by Odie. Odie, one of the heroes in the recent tier list when we talked about him, he was only ranked at A tier, but he's one of those heroes that if we're gonna go into Dream Realm, start of the season, an absolute monster, and also one of the heroes you can buy in the Dream Store and definitely shouldn't miss there. He's actually one of the heroes that I buy there all the time. And thus, of course, if you watch my recent tier list video, my first Paragon 3 hero, which is pretty cool because it gives him this wonderful red frame, which I really like. So that's really all for battle drills. Those are the top teams that you can use at the moment. Make sure to upgrade your Corrin so that you can deal top damage numbers this season. Next season we'll have to see if it prevails without the Lightbearer tile to support him, but that will be an entirely interesting new meta as well. Maybe with the new battle drills map, with the new battle drills boss. For now, you know everything that you need to know to fight the current one, and I hope you get some nice results against Giant Golem, and if you have some nice high scores, then definitely post them down below. And on your way down there, maybe make sure to subscribe to the channel so you get all the news for the upcoming season as well, because just right now, the Pioneer server phase actually started, and we're going to get some top tier information pretty soon. And with that, I wish you a great day. See us in the next one.